Good evening and welcome to the Friday edition of the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. It's day 2 of the Biden administration, but we're hearing the focus will soon return to President Donald J. Trump. In consultation with Republicans, the Socialist Democrats will continue the impeachment process of President Trump to remove him from office, even though he's already out of office. This is how leftists use their time and our money in Washington, D.C. No wonder we're over $27 trillion in debt. Speaking of debt, Joe Biden's historic directly attacking the health of the U.S. economy, guaranteeing a massive escalation of unemployment and loss of wealth. The stock market, sensing that America's prosperity is under attack and in big trouble, is reacting with sizable losses throughout the day. Though rebounding a little bit toward the end of trading, Trish Regan is going to be here to break down the economic stagnation that the socialist government will usher into the United States. Just like their communist friends in China are hoping, I would imagine. If any conservative pushed for deplatforming or censoring liberal people of color, those conservatives would be called racists and fascists. So why are liberals able to push for censorship of conservative people of color and not be called racists and fascists? Joe Pinion and Joe Collins will join your liberty-loving Latino here to discuss all of that. And did you all see the disgusting display from the mainstream press? They couldn't wait to genuflect, to kiss the rear end of the Biden administration. It was a stark contrast to how they treated press secretaries from the Trump White House. Our very own Sean Spicer, a victim of the unfairness of the press, will be here to take a stroll down memory lane. And it is of the fake news press that I wish to talk about first tonight. Fake news, unfair news, it's all the same in tonight's preamble. One of the most unreliable and ideologically bigoted media operations in this country is CNN. Not only have they called for the censoring of views that run counter to their liberal worldview, they're now pushing the Biden White House to cut off media that have a more fair and balanced approach to news, to cut us off from government. Allison Camerata is leading the charge.
I was struck by something that President Biden said yesterday in his inaugural speech. He said there are truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And I heard that as a direct shot at some of the media companies that lied about the election results. We know who they are. I mean, they're right-wing companies. Some are more fringe than others at this point, or more, I guess, extreme than others. And so if they continue to engage in lies, something that he is trying to combat, what is your communication strategy? Will you deny those networks, any interviews? I mean, what happens if they revert to form immediately?
Okay. President Trump, in contrast to resident Barack Hussein Obama, was one of the most transparent presidents in our history. Every time I turned around, he was sitting down and giving an interview to someone in the left-wing biased press. From the New York Times to CBS News to MSNBC to Chris Wallace over there at Fox News. Now, I wasn't happy about this from a strategic standpoint, but I never suggested that he cut off the unfair press entirely. But that's what Camerata is suggesting, punishing those of us who don't partake in liberal bias. She says that other outlets lie. Well, let's give a few examples of when CNN lied. According to Grabian Media founder Tom Elliott, who monitors cable news, CNN reported that Biden inherited no vaccine distribution plan. They did that 47 times, while MSNBC covered CNN's report 11 times. It took Dr. Fauci exposing CNN's myriad lies by saying, quote, "We certainly are not starting from scratch," to put that to bed. According to the Daily Caller, CNN reported the lie of hands up, don't shoot from the Michael Brown case. CNN deceptively of Seville Smith, a black man who was shot by a black police officer, to make it sound as if she were calling for peace in response to that shooting, when in fact, she was pushing for violence. Now, we could go on, but why? All of America knows that left-wing media lies. Miss Camerata should consider some old words of wisdom. Those who live in anti-First Amendment glass houses shouldn't be so eager to cast stones, Allison. We in conservative media, we are equal time. It takes conservative media to tell the truth about liberals because liberal biased outlets like CNN won't. Yesterday, Peter Doocy of Fox News asked White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki a pointed question about Biden's do as I say, but not as I do mandate on masks. It turns out after Biden mandated that all of us wear masks on federal land, Biden showed up not once, but twice on federal land without a mask.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
At the inaugural
At the memorial, yes.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day.
Oh, why didn't they tell us? Oh, it was historic. It was historic. We can all, not wear masks when it's historic. Notice she didn't answer the question. And that's okay with CNN. Thankfully, others are more exacting and have higher journalistic standards.
But as Joe Biden often talks about, it is not just important the example of power, but the power of our example. Was that a good example for people who are watching who might not pay attention normally?
Well, Steve, I think the power of his example is also the message he sends by signing 25 executive orders, including almost half of them related to COVID. We take a number of precautions, but I think we have bigger issues to worry about at this moment in time.
Wait, what? What? Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, just said that we have more important things to deal with in our country than the China virus. This after socialists spent a year beating up President Trump for saying that the cure can't be worse than the disease. I thought the Democrat socialists were supposed to lead by example. Psaki told us how Democrats lead.
To combat the deadly virus, the president launched his 100-day masking challenge, asking Americans to do their part and mask up for 100 days. He's doing his part as well, issuing a mask mandate that will require anyone visiting a federal building or federal land or using certain modes of public transportation to wear a mask.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. That's how leftists show their commitment. That's how they chip in, by telling you and your family what to do. But of course, CNN won't show you this hypocrisy. We will. And other more honest and fair news operations will. Aren't you glad we have free speech in the United States and choice in this country? Aren't you glad that serious people don't take CNN's calls for censorship seriously? Look at all the stuff you'd be missing if CNN was the only one allowed to speak or deliver what they consider to be news.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.